Okay. Just some announcements. No, number one, yeah, I'm sorry about the Blair and Robertson grades. I did not realize that uh, I had to post pala after the first posting. I had to post the second batch of grades, so that was opened last night. Um, I'm well. I don't know whether I should be happy or not. I mean, I should be happy that many people did very well in the in paper three. So it shows you that these can be possible. Most people's problems had something to do with citations because they only gave many people just put in a Blair and Emma Helen Blair, James Robertson, Philippine Islands, Arthur Clarke, blah blah. But the whole point of citations is that I must be able to check whether you actually looked into the material or not. And the Blair and Robertson, as you can see, is here behind me. So I need to see the volume numbers and the page numbers so that if I want to check something or just want to see if the thing you're writing about is really on the pages that you cite, I can do that. That's the whole point of academic writing. I just wanted to know that when I was your age, I did not have the same tools that you do. Um, like if you start today, there's this thing called Sotero in which you can build your biblios and your whatever it is you're writing on, so that citing and footnoting and bibliographies can be done much easier. If I had that when I was your age, my life would be so much easier. Also, the fact is that because we are all now using Word or whatever word processing system, it is so easy when I was your age, just to show you how Jurassic it is, probably your parents' age too, that we had to type out manually. And when we had to do a footnote, we had to sort of leave a space for footnotes at the bottom of the bond paper, and we had to adjust, the spacing. I mean, manually, that was really deadly. But today, all you need to do is press insert footnote, and it's there. So you have things done easily. Blair and Robertson is available online, although some of you actually use the physical Blair and Robertson in the Rizal Library. That was also fine. You will never ever use Blair and Robertson again unless you're probably a history major or just a history geek, which is quite rare. But just to end this Blair and Robertson exercise, I just wanted the class to know, and for you to know by actually doing it, that you have this 10,000 pages of text that is largely untapped. Um, and the reason why I'm very happy and usually give someone a grade of A, because I haven't read all the volumes, but by reading all of your papers one by one, I learned something new about Alimuddin of Sulu or Dalrymple of the British East India Company. What was burial life in the 17th century. So I learned. You actually teach me a lot of things. So I'm very very happy with that. But the experience I wanted you to get, aside from teaching me, is that you actually see what is available in English. No, so this 55 volumes is largely untapped, but this is only the tip of the iceberg. Imagine what else you can read or what else will be available to you if you unlock it because of language. Like if you can read Spanish or French or German, and the sources are in those languages, then it opens your doors to many things. So I hope that in order, sorry, to be a global citizen today, you need to learn one other language aside from English, which is a default language, because it will open many doors to you. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this, but when I was living in Tokyo, one of the places I would visit weekly was Jimbocho. It's a book town. It is a place where it's a district where it's lined with bookstores and vinyl record shops. But the books, no, I mean, the Japanese are reading people. When I sit in the subway, you see people actually reading a physical book. And, you know, they're sticklers about privacy. We will talk about that later. Their books are all the covers. When you buy a book in Japan, they will always give you a book cover because when you're reading in public, you should not announce to the public what you are reading. So there is privacy even in the book that you're reading. Anyway, so there are reading people book bookshop upon bookshop upon bookshop, very cheap because it's secondhand. I knew now where the three English language bookstores were, so I would go to those places. But I would enter a store which had a mountain of books, and I just felt bad that I could not read Japanese because had I known Japanese, this whole mountain of books was open to me. I was separated from the content in the books because of language. So uh, don't take. I hope you take my word for it. Study more than what the Ateneo will give you as a foreign language. Anyway, so that's that. Uh, we're talking also about Blair Robertson. You have 55 volumes, 10,000 pages, but it is biased. I'm happy that some of you had actually read the Gloria Cano essay because this is what we will talk about today. When we talk about the Rizal memorials, we're talking about bias. What is in the text, what is not in the text, what somebody puts in the text, and what somebody leaves out. This is actually a subjective way of doing it. It's already a bias. But Gloria Cano, because she's a Spanish historian, says that the Blair Robertson should not be well, should be read with caution because the editors are American, obviously, and their choice of their choice of their choice of documents um, is basically biased against Spain. But the way that we are taught in school, that the Spanish period is like the dark ages of martial law. It's a period of repression and persecution, etc. While some of that is true, when you read through Blair and Robertson, what you see is the other side. You read the Jesuit accounts of how they were doing missionary work. You read about Domingo de Salazar, the first Bishop of Manila, who protected the baptized, Christianized Indios against exploitation by the Spanish authorities. The introduction, what Nick Joaquin talks about, the introduction of crops, the introduction of uh, of books, of the development of cities. These are things which are positive, which you will never see in a textbook because it's all biased against the Spanish period. So I'm not saying that the Spanish period was a great period to be in, but Glenn Robertson gives you the different side. And today that is what we will talk about. Okay. Second, today we're talking about Rizal's Memorias, which I hope you have read. But next Tuesday, October 11, we will discuss the 1884 Madrid Diary. This afternoon, I'm going to open the new module, which is about Rizal going abroad. And that when you watch the module this week, you can watch it in tandem with the 1884 diary and try to find out what Rizal was like when he was abroad. Okay. I will also put up the sign-up sheet for our museum visits. Now, the Ayala Museum you can visit by yourself. It's very, very easy. Or the National Museum. Now, you can do a self-guided tour. But since I'm at the National Museum, I cannot do because if I bring more than 10 people, there's so much paperwork I have to do. So I wish I could bring you there, but wag na. And I might get caught. No, before I would tell my students just come at different times, and then we meet in a particular room at a particular time. So you don't say you're coming for a field trip, so that there's no paperwork. But I might get caught, so wag na. So Ayala, you can also do it by yourself. But since I live nearby, I'm going to schedule times when I am there, so that you can go around and then we spend some time talking about what you see. But what I wanted to, if you're interested, what is more exciting are the Intramuros tours, which I might schedule na in November because lately we cannot tell the weather. So I'm in National Museum, Ayala Museum, you're indoors. It doesn't matter whether it's raining or hot. No, it's aircon inside. But Intramuros, because I want to walk up the walls, we cannot predict the weather. So hopefully by November, things are more settled. And if it's not raining, it's not as hot as it is today. So I'm going to set that up. I'm remember that the guided tours are not your museum papers are required, but joining me on a tour is not required. No? So I'm just doing this because I like doing it. Intramuros will usually cover just San Agustin, and then we go out, walk through parts of the wall. So I will show you the fortification, and then we end with Casa Manila, which is a museum about life in the 19th century, in a 19th century house. If you have more energy, you can walk down the street to visit Fort Santiago and the Rizal Shrine. As you know, I'm old, so I can't do that na in one sitting. So, and I can't go around climbing Intramuros walls with you guys. So people have suggested, because of my age, that I just do a Spotify commentary. So students or people who are interested will go to Intramuros, press the button, and you will get my commentary. But while I'm still able to at least do part of it, and if you want to join, please sign up. But we will limit it to about 15 people. Like for if I do Ayala or I do Intramuros, the sign-up sheet will be for one class, like the L class has the morning, the M class has the afternoon, whichever, no? So that at least you can go and get to know also your classmates. But if there are some people who have scheduling difficulties, we'll deal with that too. Okay, because of this, paper one, I will extend the deadline for paper one, to probably mid-November, so that you can attend, you can do the tour and do some things. Okay. Any questions, any comments before we proceed? Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the memorias, and I hope that when people, okay, this is what I intend to do, because some people have messaged and they're so stressed out about the Noli Fili test that only one person will get the grade for everyone else. To make that less stressful, what I want to do when we meet now is we will get people to recite, and each person who recites gives their group name. So we will clock in uh, sort of points for people who for the groups, no? So if somebody is smart enough, will recite, the group gets a grade, so that you will have sort of like a bonus in case you have a disastrous result. Now we will have some way of mitigating that. Okay, so I hope that's fine. So my first question for today is I want to talk about the background of the memorias. So some people kasi read what their group wrote, which you will submit, but just so that we don't take too much time, can people volunteer and tell us, what is the background of the memorias first? Why was it written? When was it written, etc. Then we proceed with questions as things go by. Okay, anyone want to start? Anyone? What was the background of the memorias? Why was it written, etc. Okay. Miss Pimentel.
Hello po. Sir, I'm not sure, but I'll try. Yung memorias po, specifically the one that started with the early years of Rizal.
Wait, what group are you in, Pims?
Before Tasho po.
Okay.
From what I researched po, he wrote it when he was 17 to his 20s. And he wrote it during his stay in UST. So basically, yung memorials po, it was to look back on the times na parang kasama pa niya yung family niya. And also on the times when he was away from his family, like when he went to school in Ateneo. So yun po, it was basically just to look back on those memories. Since parang in many parts of the memorials, he's all saying na parang although happy yung memory, sa present time, he's very sad looking back. Parang very sentimental siya all throughout. So, yun po.
Sige, sige. Okay, that's the background. He was writing it when he was in UST, meaning he's in college and he's remembering. So, if we put it in the way in which I designed your class, remember your food paper is you sit down and you remember. And then the second paper, the day you are born, you actually do research and you combine it with what you are told or etc. So here, this is Rizal remembering. So when you go to the 1884 diary, for example, what he's writing there now, he's writing on the day itself. So it is as the things are happening. So there is a difference between remembering and writing it down on the same day or a day after. So that's it. Okay, so thank you for that, Teams. But when we talk about the diaries then, and you remember that he hid under a pseudonym, no? So my question to everyone, or you can answer in the chat if you want, do you think Rizal wanted us to read this diary or not? Remember that in the original, I think I mentioned this in the module. If you look at the original, Rizal erased Calamba. So and then on the front page it says P. Jacinto. So his name is not there. So if he wanted us to read it, we would not have known that it was Rizal's diary. Because if we just got this notebook, we don't know it's his, except that we have his birthday. So that's one clue. And then the second one I mentioned in the module is that it is obvious that Rizal brought these memorias with him when he went to Europe in 1883. So when he went to Europe, he brought this, he was reading it again, and I think may sobrang pages. So he drew some Egyptian hieroglyphics in some pages, and then at some point he wrote, he was in Heidelberg and he wrote something about, he remembered something, and then he wrote the date, and I think he forgot the P. Jacinto. He signed his name. And that's why we know that this particular diary is his. So maybe he did not, or he wanted us to read it. No, Anthony D says he didn't want us to read it. But what do you think, or what did your groups find out when they discussed it? Did he want us to read it or not? Okay, Jericho. What group are you in?
Dito Maria Clara po.
Okay. Okay, tell us what your group discussed. Did he want us to read it or not?
For us, yeah, he wants us to read what he wrote, but I believe that Rizal tried to hide his identity because what he was writing was somewhat personal, and during the times before, they were more conservative about these things. And these days, people are now more comfortable in expressing themselves online since it has become a normal part of everyone's life. And it is nothing new to share what you have done for the day because almost everyone is doing it. The generations before would have judged you for doing so, but now since people are used to seeing people post different things on social media, they're more open about it. A similarity somehow would be on some of the social media sites wherein some would still want to be anonymous, therefore would not post any pictures of themselves, but still sharing stories and ranting.
Yeah, good. But there's another thing. Thank you for that echo. We'll go to Anthony and to Renzo. The thing there is that, okay, so we know that today kasi people post, but when you look at it, say, I mean, Instagram, for example, when you post something there, you post your best self, unless you're making fun of yourself and you make a funny face, no? But normally you will post your best self. So in a sense, what we post online, although we think we're exhibitionistic, we always post our idealized or our best self. So in a sense, would you say that Rizal's memorias is also putting forward his idealized or best self. Okay, that's the question for Anthony and Enzo. What is your group, Anthony?
Group 5, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Rizal didn't really want to share. That's why he had like a pseudo name, like a fake name or something, because he was too afraid of people knowing his true identity, especially the people near him. Because obviously, if you want to write about something, you want to put your perspective, you want to show the good things about you to others. And of course, as compared today, before it was more of in the conservative side, and you didn't really want to say bad things about stuff. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good point, Anthony. So Rizal, in a sense, parang Rizal is being truthful to himself, maybe because he didn't want people to read it. That's why when you look at it, it's very. He also mentions bad things about himself or parts of himself that he doesn't like. Uh, but when you look at it again, when you read it, would you say that okay? For Enzo, it's yes, he's putting his best image forward. So do you agree with that? That's the first question. And second, would you think it is biased? Yes, Renzo. What
Uh,
group are you in?
Hello po, I'm from B8 Simone.
Okay.
Po. Um, I believe, well, at least on my perspective po, I feel like at least at first, say for example, when people write their own like personal anecdotes through their diaries, there's no sort of intention that it's going to be seen. At least like let's say for the earlier years, especially when we do look at these events, it's very private, and there's an emphasis on that word private po. So it's showing yung his sentiments when he leaves to go to Binyan, is showing a lot of these things, and even like a lot of his first like his significant experience in romance with Kay or Segunda Katikbak. But I think later on din, we can't necessarily say na he like even as his life progressed, he never wanted these things to be shown, because if that was the case, and maybe I also resonate with the fact that despite not putting his best foot forward, say for example, when we see a lot of his insecurities with his appearances, I think especially when a lot of like the experiences and significant events are highlighted, like yung injustices with his mom, I think a lot of it is worth showing din to the rest of the world. So maybe later on there was a sort of understanding na it maybe is important to show it. So baka hindi necessarily like ni-keep niya away from everyone else yung mga memories na to po.
Sige. Thank you, Renzo. So that's good. No, he's truthful in many ways. That's why it makes us wonder whether he wanted this to keep this for himself. But as in the other class, somebody mentioned, when you read the text, sometimes he addresses the reader. So you don't know if that is, he says, the reader should think this. You don't know if he means someone physically reading it, or he's thinking of, I mean, the other class, somebody even said maybe this was an, a, an academic work or something for school that he had to write. So I don't know. No, we are torn between whether Rizal wrote this to be read or not. But go moving forward. No, Vincent, what group are you in?
From Group 9 Basilio po, sir.
Okay. The question, it proceeds from what we were discussing earlier, which is whether Rizal wanted us to read it or not. The next question is, do you think reading the memorials is an invasion of Rizal's privacy?
I think, sir, that Rizal's intention was just to be genuine with what he was writing. I think he was just, being a person trying to tell his own story. Like when you compare reading authoritative articles about Rizal's life, we always see the best of his works. We always see the the most optimistic parts of his story. But when you see it from Rizal's perspective, he will include everything. It's not just about the sugar-coated version of his life. It's also about his altercations with his classmates, his first love, his emotional weaknesses, his sentimentality towards his former home and family. So I think that Rizal's intention was to really tell all, make it a tell-all book that describes his experiences. And I don't think that it's an invasion of his privacy because, first of all, he didn't associate himself with the diary. So even if some people read it, people wouldn't automatically associate it with him. But in the future, sometimes we can infer that it's Rizal. So maybe it's not really an invasion of Rizal's privacy because he intended for us to read it. So something
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Anyone wants to give another or a similar question, a similar answer to what Vince? Okay, Simon, what group are you in?
Sorry, Prof. I just ran from campus.
Sige, sorry.
See,
That's your best.
I see. Sorry. B7.
What? Okay.
I'm not so sure I agree with his viewpoint, sir, because to say or to argue that the reason he wrote the text was so that he would present a more genuine version of himself,
Mhm.
kind of requires it that he knew that he would be a sort of icon that people looked up to for the revolution. But at the time that he wrote this piece of text, um, he hadn't published Nolly, I think, or he wasn't at the forefront of the revolution. So it's almost post hoc to argue that. And so
Yeah.
I think that it can't really be substantiated because of the fact he wasn't there at the forefront yet.
Okay.
Sorry, something.
Okay, that's a good point. No, one of your classmates asked me when privately before this class, what was Rizal's role in the revolution, and again, this is one of the things that must be clear to us. Rizal did not sanction the revolution, which is why Bonifacio was very upset. This does not make Rizal a traitor because, in a sense, Rizal's life and his writings inspired the revolution, but he did not. He felt that the revolution in 1896 was premature. But anyway, that's something we will go into later. But this is a good point that Simon brings in the whole idea of intention. Whether he wanted us to read this or whether he knew he would be great. This came out in the other class, but I just want your thoughts. Can anyone tell me, do you think, I mean, like somebody's writing about his life, that presumes that he thinks someone will be interested in his life. So would you think that Rizal was, the late Teodoro Agoncillo, the historian, used to say that Rizal is a conscious hero, that everything he did was conscious and was aimed at something. Would you think that, Rizal writing the Memorias, he knew that he would become, well, not necessarily a hero, but did you think he knew that he would become famous? Anyone wants to try and answer that? Do you think Rizal would have been thinking about becoming famous? Yes, Allen?
Sir, try ko lang po.
Oh,
But
just try.
I think I read this from the accounts of Viola po, yung isa pong reading, na si Rizal is a very modest man. So I feel like he wouldn't be the type to know agad that he's going to be famous. And also he was quoted to not want to lead a revolution or like lead the people na hindi like lahat sumusuporta because baka magkaroon ng divide. So I think from that pa lang, we can tell that he doesn't believe that he has like the heart of the people and that he doesn't believe na siya yung magiging famous and that people will read this. Probably he just wrote this thinking that, okay, maybe there's like, here, may quote po na, today I'm going to relate you to my study. So definitely, he thought that someone's going to read it. Pero I don't think to the extent na sobrang maging hero siya or popular po.
Sige. What group are you in, Allen?
CSAT po.
Okay, good. That's a good point. Thank you for reading in advance the Viola. No, again, but it's that. No, nice thing here is that for the early years, kasi we don't have anything. No, there's nobody writing about the period before he goes to UST. So there's no way of validating. But when he goes to Europe, there are other people like Viola and Alejandrino, who I gave in the readings, who wrote about what they remember of Rizal. So there's a way of cross-checking what his personality was like. Then Rizal wrote a lot of letters. So the letters are written at the time. So it's like a diary, but it's unlike Memorias where he's looking back, he's writing already on the day itself. And Rizal's not the only one writing home. So other people are writing and talking about him. So there is a way for us again to to check that. But the whole idea of Rizal becoming famous, do you think that's a good point? No? She cites Viola, who says Rizal was modest, no, humble. But again, put Viola into context. Viola wrote this in 1913. Rizal's long dead. Rizal is already a national hero. So of course he wants to tame it. You know? So, but again, does anyone want to add to that? No? Did Rizal know that he would become famous or important? Not necessarily national hero. Yes, Simon.
Sir, I don't have an answer po, but I ask a question po?
Yeah.
Like, even if we were to claim that, or if it was true that Rizal was modest, could there still be some sort of ego to his work po? Like ego in the sense that even though he's modest about the other things in life, he can recognize that like, damn, my work's good or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Good. That's the point I was getting at. You have to interrogate the text and wonder, nga, is it? Did he really think? I mean, did he think he was important enough? I mean, like I told you, and I've shown you here behind me. Rizal left Ambeth Ocampo with 25 volumes of writing. That's a lot of writing, to be actually kept. And during the revolution, when anything of Rizal's could land you in jail, so you don't, you won't really, you'll destroy it rather than be caught with a letter of Rizal. So 25 volumes of writing survived. So it's obvious that he felt that he would become famous, no, in some way. So anyone wants to add to or hazard a guess, before I give you my take? Anyone? Hmm. What do you think? No, did you think that he would become famous? Anyone wants to? Yes, Aldrich, and then Enzo. What what
Sir,
what group are you in?
B6 Victorina po.
What?
B6
Victorina. Okay.
Victorina.
Okay.
I think that Rizal knew that he is a person that could make a difference based on the achievements that he had in school. Like, say, for example, in college, he would always get 5 medals in his academics. So, based from that, because of all of his achievements, I think that he knew in the back of his mind that, yeah, he would make a difference.
Okay. Good. That's a good point. What I okay, yes. Alessandra, what group are you in?
Hello, sir. I'm from BS7 CISA po.
Okay.
So I think that Rizal had no like direct intentions of being famous, but then he had the capabilities to be a famous person po. Considering how talented and capable he is, like we saw how he rose the ranks in Ateneo, and then as well as you mentioned that he did write 25 volumes of books. So uh, being a writer at that time is already like a feat. So basically, even if he weren't to have the fame he has now, he'd at least have his name out there as a writer of that time po. So
Okay. Yes. Okay, that's good. Jose, you wanted to add something? What group are you in first?
I'm B8 Sipong po.
Okay.
Sure, I think he didn't really want to be that very famous, but he has this, instead of being modest, he also has this character which he himself, or disciplines himself to do something for the better, or just like what he told in his memoir in the last part, where he shared his own story about flight, about the story about the moth. And then when I looked at the publishing of the Nolly or Feedy, his friends, actually the book was supposed to be like an idea where they could all make it. But in the end, Rizal saw that their friend was not serious about it. But he was serious about doing it because he thinks that it's important. So there's this importance that he puts into himself, which he thinks will shine or bring light. That's why there's this sense of wanting to be a recognized person, at least.
Okay. Before we go to Enzo, just one follow-up question to Jose. If Rizal was your classmate in Ateneo, would you get him as your group mate or not? And then I'll ask Enzo that question too. If Rizal, knowing what Rizal was like, would you want him to be in your group, or would you go out with him on a weekend? Jose first and then Enzo. Are you still there? No, he switched off. Enzo?
Hello.
No,
Hello.
Jose first. Sige. Yep.
Sir, I heard only a little bit of your question.
Okay. Would Rizal, if Rizal were in your class today, would you befriend him, or would you put him in your group or not? Based on what we know from his memorials.
Sir, he's a very friendly person. Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Friendly ba yan? Okay, sige. We'll get back to that. But when you read the diaries, doesn't seem like he's friendly, no? He's very emotional. I don't know, but we'll see. Sige, Enzo.
Hello, sir. Which question would you like me to answer
What
first?
is Rizal somebody that you would befriend or want to be in your group?
Oh, I guess that would depend on our personal relationship, but I guess in a general sense, he would be beneficial as a group member.
Okay. Okay. Kasi for me, well, this is jumping. I don't know what people will say, but knowing what Rizal was like, if he were my classmate, I want him to be in the group kasi he'll contribute to giving me a good grade. But he's not somebody I'll invite to Starbucks with me, diba? Or he's not somebody I'll invite to watch a movie with. So he's somebody who I will respect. No, somebody well, of course, I'm a user, so somebody who will give me a good grade. But friend-wise, I don't know. No, when you read the diaries, you start to wonder. These are the questions I want you to think. No, the personality. What kind of a person was he? No, was he friendly? Was he aloof? Was he a difficult person? We don't know. No, sige. So these are things I want you to think about. The next question basically is what things did you find engaging in the memorials, or what things, or what parts of his story did you think were relevant to you, or not? Okay, Pat.
I'm group B5, Elias.
Okay.
In chapter 2 of the Memorials, it's when he moved to Binyan, and that's because his former Latin teacher died and he had to transfer to a newer teacher. And I think this was a very engaging chapter because usually we look at Rizal as like this national hero, but then here you can see him in like a depressing state, which is very different from how we usually see him. So I think this kind of made like humanize him, and it made him relatable to like us normal people. So I think this chapter was very engaging for me.
Okay, that's also one of the things I want. It comes out in many of your uh, comments and later in your papers. Know that normally people say, yeah, we want to see a Rizal who is a normal person, but Rizal was. Rizal was a normal person. It's just that he became he became hero. But so when people say Rizal was like us, or Rizal was ordinary, or Rizal was human, who told you he was not? Diba? Maybe we have to shift gears and let ourselves know how to look at him in a different way. So anyone else, what did you find relatable or engaging in the texts? Okay, Alan, and then Anne or Steph, sorry. Enzo
Sir,
first.
oh, hi po.
Enzo, then Alan. You wanted to say something?
Yes, sir. I guess in chapter 2 of the Memorias, I found entertaining how Rizal got into a fight with Pedro
Okay.
and how he violently tackled him down onto the bench, I guess.
Okay.
Um, because throughout history, we saw Rizal as this guy who wrote Noli and Elfidi as just a writer, but you wouldn't think that Rizal would get into fights and actually win them as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point, no? And so brings out a good point. This whole idea of the fight, and then you look at it, he's fighting with his classmates. Yung parang he's very sensitive, so they tease him. Ay, probinsyano ka, tiga Kalamba. So parang he gets upset, and he says that even when he got to Ateneo. Um, the story of the bully is significant because we are told that in school. Na ay nako, Rizal fought with the bully and he beat the bully. No, so and then the way the narrative has been formed is that okay, when he was a child, he fought with the bully, he vanquished the bully, and then when he becomes an adult, he will take on the bigger bully, which is Spain and colonialism, etc. But if you read the text, you read the text very closely. Rizal did not actually win the fight with the bully. If you remember, parang they started fighting. I don't know if you've ever seen a real fight. I mean, if you come from a boys' school, a real fight doesn't take very long. Parang sandali lang, and as soon as somebody falls or somebody draws blood, that's the end of the fight. So if you read the text, you will see that he fought with Pedro, who was bigger than him, the son pa of the teacher, di ba? And what happened was parang he lunged at Pedro, but obviously parang he was small. Remember in the diary, he keeps talking about being small. Parang he pushed, and then he struck, but he missed because Pedro moved away. And when he moved away, there was a chair or a table behind Pedro. So he fell and he fell back. And when he fell, parang Pedro was stunned. Parang, ay, how did that little boy do that to me? And then parang si Rizal, oh, akong nanalo, di ba? And if you read the next few sentences, you'll find out that Pedro's barkada waited for him outside of school. So they held him by the arms and they banged his head on the wall. But that's it. He gained a reputation for beating the bully, which was actually just his lucky day. You know, if Pedro didn't fall, he would have been beaten up. You know? But again, this shows you that the whole idea of fighting the bully, the whole idea of being small, that's a significant thing that many people miss out on. Okay, so we'll have Alan and then Steph,
So
Renzo, and then Kat.
the
Yeah.
part that resonated to me po was when he like finished college and he says like goodbye then beautiful unforgettable period of my life. Medyo natatawa po kasi ako kasi ngayon medyo nahihirapan sa college. So parang paano mo na-enjoy na ganun? Pero also sir, I guess medyo nare-relate din po ako when it's compared to high school kasi 'di ba po 2 years, 3 or 2 years of our high school life was spent in COVID pandemic. So parang dumaan so quickly and I guess that's the same way Rizal felt when he was in college na parang dumaan sobrang bilis lang po. And that
Mm.
was an unforgettable part of his life. Yun po.
Great. That's a good point. I mean, remember when you look back at your high school, you just laugh and you find it amusing. But when you were in high school, having to do math or whatever, you hated it. So I'm just telling you this. It's a matter of perspective. It's like going to college. So now you're stressed out. Ambeth Ocampo is giving me too many assignments, and I have other assignments with my other classes. You hate it, but I'm telling you now, believe me, when you graduate and you leave the Ateneo, when you are much older, you will always go back in your memory and you will relive the days that your happy days when you were in the Ateneo. Now you only think of school and passing the course. No, you don't have to deal with life's big problems like earning a living, no, starting a family, buying a house. So it's very ideal. So when you look back on your college life, I guess like Rizal will do later, he sees a different view. Thank you for that, Alan. Okay, Steph.
Okay, sir. Hi, I'm from B1 Ibarra. And
Okay.
there was this one particular excerpt in the Memorias where Rizal mentioned that the medals that he obtained in school were his own way of somewhat repaying his father back for the sacrifices that he made. And I think that it resonated with me as I think it's a sentiment that most students, if not all, would relate to. You know, as we
Yeah.
grew up, we would see how hard our parents work to give us the necessities that we need and sometimes even our wants. And I think
Yeah.
that especially it's a privilege to be able to study in Ateneo. So ayun, I related with that po.
I guess I'm glad you think that way. I'll tell you this. No, my parents are now dead, but one of the things that I regretted because I was so self-centered was I did not give them the satisfaction of watching me graduate. My sister was also like that. Ang baduy naman, graduation, we have to wear that gagastos pa. And we didn't realize at the time that it it brings so much joy to the parent to see their children graduate, and they should not be denied that that satisfaction. No, my mother's greatest dream, which remained unfulfilled till the day that she died, was she always wished that I would finish my doctorate in London because she would come to the graduation because what happens is the undergrads just stand up and sit down. It's only the PhD students whose hood will be put on by by Princess Anne, no, the daughter of Queen Elizabeth, who was Chancellor of the university, used to be the Queen Mother. So the Queen Mother or Princess Anne would have put in my hood. And that would have been my mother's finest moment. But I did not give her that satisfaction. So, when I always try to attend the graduation in Ateneo, and it gives me so much joy just to see my students graduate. And I can imagine what that is like for a parent, no, to see that, and then I feel guilty. So if you want to give thanks to your parents like Rizal, no, just graduate and let them see you graduate. No, that's it. Okay, thank you. Enzo, and then we have Alan and Steph.
Me po, sir.
Yep.
Okay. Dalawa.
Yeah,
For
dalawa.
me, other than ayun po, what was mentioned earlier, yung kanyang insecurities, bullying, and yung sa love life niya, parang a group mate of mine wrote this. I believe it was Anya. But I also resonate with this certain event of his wherein he moves away from his parents. There's even a chapter talagang titled My Life Away from My Parents, My Sufferings. And parang coming from the province and Anya from another country, parang we feel that same kind of longing, yearning. We see in the lines parang how far it is on the way to home, pero ang bilis pagbalik. Kasi parang, oo nga, dito ka sa school chasing your dreams, syempre. And of course, we see Rizal as somebody who gives value to his education. But he never nawala sa kanya yung sense of family. And I believe that goes to show just how much of a nice parang upbringing he had, and talagang he missed his mom all throughout. And so we feel these things and we resonate with these things kasi even now, parang sort of 2 months na in Ateneo, dapat the adjusting period nagsettle. Pero in some cases, hindi pa rin talaga. You walk along the hallways, you go to your dorm, and then you go home like na ikaw lang mag-isa, and talagang we resonate with them. And then there's always this idea of when kaya ako makakabalik, when can I see my family again. And buti na lang for us, we have these video chats. for Rizal, I'm sure it was not the same way. So ayun, we resonate with that.
It's actually writing home. No, I mean it's also that. No, that's why your generation is so fortunate to have the technology that you have. I mean, Rizal, how many weeks or a month where a handwritten letter will get sent. Di ba? But today, you can switch on and they can watch you on a camera. And in my own experience, it was like that when I had to go abroad to study. Di ba? You go to a different. I mean, dito nga, just going from your province to Manila is a big deal, lalo na if you go abroad. Kasi the food is different, the culture is different. It's much more difficult than actually moving to another place in the Philippines. No? And then you just have a phone na mahal pa, but and then much recently when I was living in Tokyo on Sundays, I would open my laptop and then I would my sisters would put their laptop on. I could see what they were eating for Sunday dinner, and we would chat. But while the technology brings us closer, that's still that pain of separation is still there. So that's quite important. Okay, so can we hear from Steph and then Jay? She had her hands raised, and then Kyle. No? Is Steph still there?
Sir, I'm done reciting na po.
Okay. What was your group again?
B1 Ibarra po.
Ibarra. Okay, great. Okay. Jay.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me
Yep.
po?
Yes, I can. What group are you in?
B9 Basilio po.
Okay.
The most interesting chapters to me were the one where he discussed his first love, si Miss K. I
Okay.
think parang reading everything, the most engaging one talaga was maybe the one with his mother to see how passionate that he was. Pero when I read how he wrote of her, kasi I feel like he didn't write like a typical person would write about their first love, quote unquote, na parang, oh, we met on Thursday tapos we had a nice date. When he wrote, parang I felt kind of invasive because it's like I was there then, and then I kind of feel like he captured how he felt in that moment and he preserved it for the rest of the world to inevitably read. Tapos one more chapter po that I really enjoyed reading, despite how sad it was the one about his mother. Parang I remember po when I was taking notes on it, I kept saying, ano, like what's going on? And then it was you read about the injustices people face. Pero when Rizal, kasi diba he wrote from a first person, like from his point of view. So obviously, it affected the tone. You could feel his anger, or you could feel na, oh, wow, this is like really really horrible. It's not just. It felt more personal in a sense na, oh, these wrongdoings, they really were terrible, and they really did happen quite often. And even when what do you call that? Even when people were even though they had like the best lawyers, still took them about 2-3 years to bail her out of jail. And I think the separation, because he was a very family oriented person as described in his writing, diba? So I feel like that must have really hit home or really hurt to have her taken away for so long.
Yeah. Actually, it's that. I mean, it's your mother. Even if your mother is guilty, a child will, and the opposite, di ba? No mother will ever think a child is guilty, But it was a traumatic experience that his mother was imprisoned, and um, his mother would be imprisoned a second time when he was older, just because she was Rizal's mother. So this is something that's important. No? Since we only have half an hour before the end of time, I want to end this class by going uh, talking about Segunda, that chapter, because I think it is important. But anyway, let's just finish this. No, Kyle and then Kyle, Pims, and then Jasper. So briefly, what you found engaging, and I want you to, the second question I want you to answer is, what did you think of Rizal's courtship style? So just, first question is, what did you find engaging or relevant, not quickly? And then number two, what did you think of Rizal's courtship style? Was it good, bad, or whatever? So let's hear from Kyle, Pims, and then Jasper. Kyle, are you still there?
Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are. What group are you in?
B3 Damaso po.
Okay.
So during our discussions po, our group discussions po, we agreed that chapter 2 really resonated with us, and we found it really engaging since it's not just about skimming through the memories of Rizal and his childhood.
But can you give us one or two incidents or parts of the memorias that you found relevant?
There's an excerpt po na it says, "Oh, how sweet to me was Calamba, in spite that the fact that it was not as wealthy as Binyan."
Okay.
It really relate to it since our province might not be as wealthy as metropolitan cities like Manila, but it really made us who we are today. And
where are you from?
I'm from Bacolod po.
Bacolod is
Negros
nice.
Occidental.
Bacolod
po.
is a nice city.
But
Iloilo is one of my favorite cities. May not be
There's a-
Manila,
Yeah.
but Bacolod is nice. Sige.
Pero meron pong mga stereotypes when it comes to provinces po talaga. Like there's this one po na like I went to pop up last time, and sabi nung isa, yung Bacolod parang bukid lang naman din. Parang ganun po. Parang bukid. Meron ba kayong wifi? Parang na-offended sa ganun.
Baka ginagago ka lang. No? Bacolod is such a beautiful city. Okay, sige.
His reaction, his face was so naive po. Like, wala ka talagang may makitang trace of na parang iniinis ka lang. Parang ganun.
But I guess that's also when you see the memorias, di ba? Yung Rizal gets upset when they call him tiga Kalamba, parang ang baduy mo kasi Kalamba ka, di ba? No? And that's only Binyan, di ba? So what more when he went to Manila, di ba? The world becomes a bigger place. No? Yes, sige. Can you tell us now what your group thought of Rizal's courtship style? Segunda, was it?
Na-discuss po namin that his torpe po.
Oh, sige, good. Torpe in what way?
Like, parang nasa harap niya na po yung parang nag-wink na yung mga babae sa kanya, pero parang wala pa rin po sa kanya yung
yeah, sige.
signs
Okay,
na
that's something we will get into in a while. Thank you for that, Kyle. Okay,
Yes,
can we have Pims first and then Jasper first, then Pims. Jasper?
So good afternoon, sir. So,
what group are you with? What group are you with? I think he got cut off. Jasper, are you in? Wala. Okay, Pims, do you want to take over while Jasper is getting set up?
Okay po. First po, yung relevant to me or like relatable is like...
Ayan na siya.
Okay.
Jasper, nakakat ka. Wala. Okay, anyway, Pims, can you continue? We'll wait for Jasper to connect.
Okay po. Like my classmates, sir, I'm actually not from Metro Manila. Tapos, while reading yung memoirs, parang iniisip ko pa, ano ba yan si Rizal? Like, can't he just like cherish yung memories, happy memories, and leave them like as happy memories? But then now po na I'm here away from home, I actually relate to it kasi it's yung happy memories. It's not sad because malayo ka na from home, but it's mostly because you know na from this point forward, you're gonna be away for a while, and those are things, especially yung mga childhood memories na you can never bring back. Like kahit how hard you feel it, or like kahit you go home, it will never be the same since you've been away na. And then, dun naman po sa courtship ni Rizal, actually yung entire situation, especially reading from like this time and age, it was very confusing and weird kasi parang sinabi po doon na si Miss K, she had a fiance who was also apparently her uncle or something. Pero for some reason, parang okay lang yun with Rizal and okay lang din yun with Miss K. But yung si Rizal po, I agree with what my other classmates said na medyo torpe, or parang may part pa po doon na he said na he doesn't want to order women, but he wants women to
Yeah.
command him or something
Sige,
something
sige.
ganon. And one of my classmates said na parang submissive si Rizal or something like that. So
Ayan,
yun po.
sige. These are things we will get into later, no? Submissive, torpe, whatever, no? So let's get back to Jasper, who was able to connect, and then after Yana, and then we'll do Sigunda. Yes, Jasper? Oh, wala na naman siya.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Am I audible na?
Yes, you are. Sige. We can't hear you.
So, sir, kasi I grew up in an island. So,
Where? Puputol.
sir, hello.
Yes. You get cut. Okay. Jasper gets cut. Sorry. Yana, while Jasper's getting set up, you wanted to say something, hopefully about Rizal's courtship style.
Yes, sir. Add lang sana ko doon sa sagot nila na torpe si Rizal. Actually, like, reading it nga, sir, parang, like yung sinabi ng isang classmate, in this day and age, reading it in this day and age, medyo, what? Mapapagano'n ka? Kasi may part na sabihin na, 40 years old doon pala yung nililigawan ni Rizal. Tapos, like, siya college graduate na. So, parang, alam mo, dati nagtawag doon ngayon sa araw na to. That's called, starts with a G. So, parang, tapos sinabi niya pa sa nililigawan niya na, sinabi pa niya na, Miss, I never had the custom of ordering women. I expect them to command me. May pag ganun pa siya. So like, aren't you a grown-ass man? So like, tapos you're asking a 40-year-old girl? So parang, what? So parang, parang, hindi, torpe na nga siya, bottom pa siya. So like, parang weird siya. Basta yung thought ko. Sure lang, sir.
Sige, good. Thank you. What group are you in, Yana?
Three damas, sir.
Okay. Anyway, let's get into this because we only have 20 minutes. No. What I wanted you to see also, and I think many of your groups found it. You discussed it. That this is a young man's diary, which should actually be filled with, goodness, lightness, hope. But it's dark and it's brooding. And it's I find it quite odd when you read chapter 6, which is his first love with Segunda Katikba. This should all be lightness and gentleness, light, and being happy. But parang he's not happy at all. And when you read it, I don't know if you have the text with you, but later read it again. Even the way that he opens the chapter, it's very Ateneo Philo. Now you separate the head and the heart. No, wake up, heart, kindle again your extinguished fire, so that in its warmth you may remember the time which I dare not judge. Go, thinking mind, and go again through those places. Recall those moments in which you drank together with the nectar, the bitter gall of love and disappointment. So while he's talking about sweetness and nectar, there is gall and bitterness. There is love and there is disappointment. And the big disappointment here, I don't know if you noticed it, was that Segunda, who was attractive, was actually engaged. And Rizal knew that Segunda was engaged. And then he describes her, no? He encountered we encountered there a girl of about 14 years. Okay, so she was 14 years. And then the adjective he uses to describe her as fresh, pleasant, and winsome. Fresh is an adjective you use for vegetable and fruit. You don't use it for a person. But I don't know, I'll check the original Spanish. So that's how it is described. And then he sort of guesses, well, supposedly guessing that Segunda is related to his friend, Mariano, who introduced them. And then he says, in fact, we found there a tall man dressed nicely who seemed to be her fiancé. So alam na niya yan, di ba? And then from the description that Rizal gives, gives us a clue of what he finds attractive in a woman. She was short, meaning he wants girls that are shorter than him. She had expressive eyes, ardent at times and drooping at other times. So the eyes doing these strange movements means that she was sending him signals and he was too dumb to read them. And then he says her complexion was pinkish, which means she's fair. You cannot be pink if you are brown or black, unless of course you go to the beach, di ba? Then she had a smile so bewitching and provocative that revealed some very beautiful teeth. Obvious ba? Kasi pag ngumiti, tapos bungi, hindi ka na ma-attract. Then she had an air of a sylph and says, I don't know what alluring something was all over her being. She was not the most beautiful woman I had seen, but I have never seen one more bewitching and alluring. And then they asked her, Oy Rizal, i-drawing mo nga ito si Segunda. And then, hindi ako marunong. Then of course, marunong ka eh. Di ba yung this thing na nagpapapilit ka? Then he drew her. And then he says that, I don't know, I excused myself, I don't know. They compelled me and I drew a grotesque figure. So he drew her and he was so conscious na pangit lumabas yung drawing. So when Segunda saw it, ay pangit, but she kept quiet. And then they played chess. And then Rizal gets upset that he lost. And why did he lose? Because nga Segunda was looking at him. So he got distracted and he hated the fact that he lost. And then they started conversation. And Rizal now started to talk about novels and literature. Today, I don't know about the girls in the class, but if a guy starts talking to you about literature and novels, wala, busted ka na, di ba? But I don't know. Anyway, he took advantage. And then they started to go quite often, okay? And from the text, what I want you to see, because when we talk about Maria Clara, we always think they're shrinking violets, but they're actually depressed, di ba? They're repressed. So since Segunda knew that Rizal was torpe, she already went forward, which is something we don't know. So they started. Rizal says, I don't know how our conversation began, but I remember that she asked me what flowers I like best. I told her I like all, but I preferred white and the black ones. Can you imagine? Bulaklak na black, di ba? And Segunda says she liked the white and pink ones. Then she became quiet and added, yes, I also like the black ones. So she's leading him in. What does Rizal do? He says in his diary, I kept quiet. Di ba? Segunda already gave you the opportunity. Then because she gets, I like na the black flowers. Di ka sumasagot. So Segunda goes straight for the jugular. She asks him, do you have a sweetheart? Kasi baka may girlfriend na kaya hindi interesado. And then Rizal answered, no, I never thought of having one because I know well that no one would pay attention to me, especially the beautiful one. So of course he's flattering her. And then Segunda answers back, why is that possible? You deceive yourself. Do you want me to get you a sweetheart? Kasi wala pala. So the thought bubble there is take me. But Rizal doesn't see it. Rizal says, thanks, miss. I don't want to bother you. And then he writes in his diary, I remembered at that moment that she would marry her uncle the following December. So he knows she's engaged. Then he asks coyly, do you go back to your town in December? Segunda says no. Then he answers back, they say that in your town, there will be a very big feast that will be celebrated in which you will take an important part. And this feast will not be possible if you are not there? Eh kasi nga wedding feast, di ba? And then Segunda says, no, my parents want me to go home, but I want to stay in college 5 years more. And then what does Rizal say? He says, little by little, I was imbibing the sweetest poison of love as the conversation continued. Her glances were terrible for their sweetness and expressiveness. Her voice was so sonorous that a certain fascination accompanied all her movements. From time to time, a languid ray penetrated my heart, and I felt something that until then was unknown to me. No, I mean, most people say that's love. Ambeth Ocampo thinks it's an erection. I mean, sorry, no, but that's just me. And why did the years pass so rapidly that I didn't have the time to enjoy them? Because he's always studying, so he didn't have the time to enjoy. And then the clock struck 12. And then Segunda says, do you have any order to give me? Do you want me to get your girlfriend? And this is where Rizal says, Miss, I never had the custom of ordering women. I expect them to command me. Or then he says, we went down the wide staircase and went home. I don't know how I spent the night. We all know how he spent the night. He was in love, diba? So you read this and then you will see the text, that the tone changes whenever he talks about Segunda. But to cut the long story short, because we're almost time, what happens is they agree to meet in the December when Segunda's going to go to get married. They're going to meet in the junction of Batangas and Laguna. And of course, Segunda thinks that Rizal will take her back to his town because he already asked her, he proposed to her. It's in the diary, but most people don't see it. He asked Segunda, do you want to be part of my town? That's asking her to live with him in his town. Anyway, so they go. And then Rizal is there waiting on his horse. Then the carriages pass. So Segundo so happy to see Rizal. And then when the carriage of Segunda stops, Rizal tips his hat, and without saying a word, he brings his horse around and he goes home. He doesn't tell her anything. And poor Segunda is, oh, whoa, what happened? Diba? Wala na. So Rizal just chose to go off somewhere else and leave Segunda. So Segunda goes home and marries her fiance. And when you read the diary, what is very, very clear here is Rizal actually says that, well, it's anyway, he says something like, okay, he says this. He says, this is the story of his life. This ended thus. How much truth, how much meaning these words had. My youthful and trusting love ended. The first hours of my first love ended. My virgin heart will forever weep the risky step it took in the abyss covered with flowers. My illusion will return, indeed, but indifferent, incomprehensible, preparing me for the first deception on the road of grief. Then he went home, confused. And then he says, I knew that she was the woman who satisfied fully the aspirations of my heart that told me I had lost her. See, it was his choice. And then what does he do the next 2 days? He visits a certain woman named Elle. And his father said, don't go see that woman. So the point here is, what I'm showing you here is most people don't look at it because it's just Rizal's love life. But this is the pattern of Rizal's love. He courts a woman, gets involved, and when they are at a point of intimacy or commitment, Rizal will run away. And the standard answer is always, Rizal was married to his country. Rizal wanted to be only for his country. That's not true. So read the diaries, and the memorias actually give us a hint of what he will be like as an adult. And this is how important it is, but people don't read it. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I wish we had more time. And I'm happy, except for Group 10, Tiago, nobody from your group spoke up. And let's hope that you will do so on Monday. So there are no other questions, no other issues. We will call it a day. So are there any questions, any issues? So if there are none, please type out in the chat box Segunda. So for our attendance today.